Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 2022 Spring SSUL season. This is an attacking analysis of the first three games that we had this spring, specifically attacking in the midfield. That has been our topic for all of our training sessions since we switched over to the SSUL. No matter where we are on the field or what we are doing, we're always going to have a goal. And for attacking in the middle third, our goal is to have possession to pass or dribble forward in order to have possession in that final third. So the question becomes, what are we going to do in order to achieve that goal? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to exploit the opponent when they are unbalanced or disorganized. And if they're not unbalanced or disorganized, we are going to try to unbalance or disorganize the opponent. So how are we going to disorganize them? Well, the first thing that we teach is that we're going to spread out. We want a really big shape when we are attacking. We're going to utilize space and triangulate to create passing options. That means really using our formation. And our formation is set up to have inherent diagonal passing lanes in it. So we're automatically creating passing options on the diagonal if we are in our right formation. And finally, that also means we have to vary the types of runs to try to get behind or between the opposition defensive lines. And this is really what we've been working with our strikers, the 9 and the 10, to realize how the build-up play is advancing and to move off the ball in accordance with that build-up play. So how is the individual player going to make all this happen? First and foremost, the player has to understand how the team wants to play. We have a style of play and they have to stick to it. That's a part of being a part of the team. Learning the roles, the formation, all the positions, and playing in accordance with that, because your teammates expect you to be in certain locations at certain times of the game and in certain phases of the game. And if you are playing a different style on your own island, you're not being a part of the team. We want to make sure that the player is constantly scanning the field in order to gather information. We spent a lot of time on this when we were playing back in the NPSL in January, February, and March. And that's just the idea of getting that player to open their body to the field, to look around, to understand of where the teammates are, where the ball is, where the opposition is, and where the space is to attack. Now, with that scanning information, you're going to then have better off the ball movement to respond of how the build-up play is going. And you're also going to use that information to make your soccer decisions when you do have the ball. And so, once again, with that information, we're going to make good soccer decisions. And with those soccer decisions, we're going to make quality soccer actions. And we're always going to make the decision before we receive the ball. And finally, for the player, they need to focus on their task for the entire game now. Back when there were U8s, it's okay to look at the aircraft, the birds, and the grass, but now you need to be switched on mentally. Understand that the soccer does not have any timeouts or breaks, that you need to be focused on what's going on the field every time you step on that pitch. And you need to take responsibility for your own development. That means practicing at home, doing your best at training, and you have to, for your performance, go back and watch your game and evaluate your own performance. So our first game was NORTAC Barcelona. They're an aggressive, athletic team. Their formation is rather old school. The book to read is Inverting the Pyramid, and they re-inverted it with a large number of forwards, smaller midfield, and even the smaller number of defensive players. At times, they were looking like they were running a 2-4-4 and even a 2-3-5 when in that final third. Their attack relies on opposition mistakes in the midfield and in the opposition final third. With those numbers, yeah, that makes sense. So if they can get 10 people or 9 people in the opposition third, even when they don't have the ball and you can't go over them or can't go through them, they're going to win and they're going to try to score again. They also like a lot of wing play with overwhelming numbers in the box. They had a great 7 that would try to pump it into the box with 3 guys right in there at the penalty spot and 1 guy cleaning up slop. And then they always had somebody then coming in for support as well. But that was pretty much it. The defending relied on the speed of recovery runs from the midfield. Their 2 and 3 would push up into the midfield and then would, essentially try to chase you down, which they were able to. And like I said, the numbers in the opposition build up. So our attacks in the middle third, we were unfortunately unsuccessful 68% of the time. So over 2/3 of the time, we couldn't get it out of our middle third when we had the ball there. We then, majority of the time when we did get it out, we were able to pass it out 17% of the time, and we dribbled it out 7% of the time. Interesting enough, the maintained possession because of foul, that 5%, they're an aggressive team. So we maintained the ball or got it in the final third because of a foul that they committed. So I'm going to start with the positives. Remember our team how. One of them is to create a diagonal passing lane. And in this clip, we're going to see our 11. We have a really strong diamond in the center. The 11 gets the ball, passes it to our 7, and then our striker recognizes that the passing lane is a diagonal to the outside. Now, at the beginning, he doesn't recognize it immediately, but he does in the end and makes the right run, and we have possession in the final third thanks to a quality pass by our 7. "11 wins the ball, pass to the 7, and our striker finally realizing that that's where the space is, attacks it, and we have possession. So let's talk about our challenges. Obviously, many players are learning new roles and responsibilities. And because the players are not understanding their roles, they are completely out of position. Remember, we want a big shape as a team, so that means we need to spread out. And we need to utilize space and triangulate to make passing options. That means we need to use our formation. We need to be in our formation so that when we get the ball, we have outlets, we have passing options. And if everybody's small and tight and clumped, we don't have those passing options. Now, who is involved here? The 9, the 10, the 7, the 6, the 8, the 2, and the 3. It's in the middle third, and it's when we pick up the ball and begin our attack to try to go forward. And what you're going to see is the 11 pick up the ball. At that time when the 11 gets the ball, the 8 is behind him. His partner is way wide, and the 9 and the 10 are 30 yards off the half line. And this was a challenge most of the game. As you can see from this still, can you tell me where the diamond is? There's our diamond, the 6, the 7, the 11, and the 8. The 8 currently has the ball. The diamond is starting to have shape, which is good. The 6 can be a little far forward because the 8 a little farther forward because the 8 has the ball, so to be engaged. But look where our strikers are. There's our 10 and there's our 9. I'm always asking our strikers to either be A, on the halfway line, or B, at the last defender. Our 9 is 12 yards off of where he needs to be. 8 has 0 passing options. So where should the 10 and the 9 be? Somewhere out wide to try to draw one of these defenders over. The 10 down over on the 50 or in that little space down there. The 9 could be down wide here. In this still, we have our 3, our fullback on the left side, engaging in an attack. He's got the ball, he won it in space. The problem is, where is our diamond? The 6 is completely disengaged from the attack. The 11 is in front of the 3, and the 8 is behind that. Our formation is under severe stress right now. And we like big shapes. The 8, the 11 might be open, but that's a horrible pass. 2 yards is not a good pass. One thing I do like is our 10 chose to go really wide there. Look, he's already drawn one defender, and he's drawn the attention of another defender who sees the threat from the 3 to pass outside. So he's actually going to go. So Emmett has successfully taken half the defense with him just by going wide. Now our 9 here, that's kind of the 8's position. I wish the 8 was there, and the 9 would have been wide on the other side to try to draw 3 away in order to then, once again, make them make a choice to defend you. If you're small, when you're attacking, it's an easy job for the defense to mark you. If you're big, in a big shape, in a structured formation, the defense has to then make a choice. Do I attack the ball? Do I cover my guy? What do I have to do? That's how you unbalance a defense. And this occurred a lot in this game. This is an attack by our fullback on the right-hand side, our 2. He won the ball. He's got clear space, and he's going to attack this space on this side. This is where everybody is. The 6, 7, 2, and 8 essentially are in a line. The 9, 10, 11 are once again in a line. So the question is, I'm going to give you a couple seconds, look at this, and tell me where the formation should be at this time when we have space, we have time, and our fullback is pushing forward. Yeah, this is where I kind of would like to see it. The 7's in the correct spot. The 6 should be somewhere behind the referee at this point, in a safe zone in case we do lose the ball. He's right there to cover that middle guy, but at the same time to offer support if he needs it. The 11 is the opposite of the 6. The 8's forward where the 9 is currently, and the 9, seeing that the ball is coming up the wide channel from the build-up play, is here being wide. And the 10, seeing that it's going to the right, shifts over to the center on this halfway line. Game 2, West Seattle. They were a large team and used frequent substitutions as the game went on. We really grew into this game. There was a point where I really thought we were going to come back and win it. We were carving them up in that second half and doing a really good job at keeping possession, finding these diagonal balls, and we were making them sweat for a while. They had 2 or 3 players of notable quality who like to take long-range shots and crosses. And I think that had we played them again this spring, we would have done a lot better defending them, knowing that that's what their kind of modus operandi is. They ran a very interesting 4-3-3 narrow with a dedicated 6. So which meant is that they're a very defensive team, and their attack came from the 7, the 11, winning the ball in the center and then driving to the outside and into the byline, and then trying to huff the ball into the 8, 9, 10, or the 7 on the far side. And they also occasionally try to go through the middle as well, just by kicking it long and trying to use their numbers, their high 3, to win the ball. Defensively, They were solid defensively for the most part. They had that back four, which allowed them to have numbers up. So when our two strikers were always outnumbered by their back four. Now we'll get into in June how to defeat that. So our attacks in the middle third, not only were there more of them, they were more successful. 26% of the time we were successful with passing into that final third, and 9% of the time we were successful at dribbling into the final third. Notice how the fouls went down. So it's a less aggressive team. Fouls went down, and our success went up. The first clip we're going to look at is a great successful attack. I want to point out the strong shape that we have here in our diamond midfield. There's 6. Our 7-11 patrolling the half spaces, and our 8 is in a phenomenal position between the back line and the opponent's midfield. That means he's got time and space when he receives the ball, if he receives the ball. The 6 here is going to win it, pass it to our 11. Now I wish the 11 would scan the field before receiving it. And we're going to vary our run here as it shoots through the gap. And there's the run. Indy wins it, goes to the end line. He tries to force it through, but decides in the second to use his support and his shape, and we create a chance with numbers in the box. Spectacular attack in the middle third. Okay, so I want you to think about why we scan and why we make decisions before the ball gets to us. The sequence of play that you're going to watch is exactly the type of soccer we do not play. We scan the field, make a decision, and make good soccer actions based upon those good decisions. We're nowhere near our goal where we need to be clearing it. We need to maintain possession, use our shape, and get into the final third. So not only are we able to pass into the final third, one of the things is that we can also dribble into the final third. And I wanted to show a clip of successfully dribbling into the final third. It's a part of the build-up play coming from our goalie, going to our 11. And our striker, seeing that the build-up play is there, goes wide, gets the ball because of a heavy touch from our 11, and successfully dribbles it in to the final third. Dribbles in, goes to the end line, has support, and has numbers in the box. Sees his teammate, and we create a chance once again in the final third. Our final team, the VALOR Team Doom, was game 3. They ran a 3-4-3, so that means they had a back 3. Their middle center back, which I called the 6 here, did a pretty good job of not dropping back and screened his partner in a variable triangle, which means sometimes they were a flat back 3, and sometimes he would go forward to kind of screen the 4 and the 5. It worked for the most part. It really clogged up that center channel, which also just goes to show you how important it is for the 9 and the 10 to be wide. Make that 4 and 5 have to cover you, and that opens up space for our 8, our 7, and 11 in those half spaces in the center. They use the outside wingers to attack, but they rarely track back. So there was a ton of space. Once they had the attack into our final third, and we won it and started a counter, they wouldn't track back. They tried to play similar to NORTAC, but they didn't have the endurance or the speed or the aggressiveness to kind of play that game. So like I said, it allowed a lot of space for our midfield to operate. We had all the time in the space in the center with lots of touches to then kind of plan out a counter. Once again, with that space in a back three, we saw more passing into space. So we were successful 27% of the time passing into that final third. And once again, our success rate went up and our not successful rate went down. In addition to that, there were more attacks. So good job for the boys. They are clearly getting better as the weeks go on. So in this clip is a great example of one of the attacks. Our 2 wins the ball, passes it to our 7. And our 7 has time and space to kind of do what he wants to. He's got one man to beat before he then can get his head up and get the ball forward. This is great because my question is, where is the 9? Here's the 2 wins it, passes it to the 7. 7 has one guy to beat, coming around, cuts back to the inside. Oh, Heath is out there in the wide. He saw the play go wide. Unfortunately, then he chooses to go to the center. That's where the defense is. If he would have stuck wide, he would have had, Maxim would have had fewer people to deal with in the center. That defender covering Heath would have to honor Heath's run down the outside. Same thing with his partner on the other side. Can we go wide to drag these guys out to give our center guy, our 8, or anybody else time and space in order to score? Sometimes, we lose that focus and our formation falls apart. It's getting later in the game. You get tired. You switch off. It happens, but we have to try to minimize that as much as we can. Here's a perfect example of that. My question is, before you see the clip, where is the last defender? Where are our strikers? And where is our diamond? We win the ball back. Goes up to our striker who's behind the 8. Everybody still has 5-6 yards. Our shape kind of fell apart there. We have a good reaction though. We win it back and we go to the outside. So we still were able to get it to the final third, but not in a manner that we wanted to. Not controlled, not with possession. Because remember, possession is precious. It doesn't matter if we hoof it long if we don't have possession. Last couple of clips I wanted to show you is that the growth that the team is occurring in the last couple games is amazing. And these clips will kind of prove it to you. The complete destruction of the formation that was occurring in the previous couple games didn't happen. And so all we're really talking about improvement is minor tweaks. So before I play this, I want you to think to yourself, where's the strikers? Where's the diamond? Where's the last defender? And where's the halfway line? What you're going to see is that the 4 wins the ball, gives it to the 6. The 6 distributes to the 11. The 8 needs to start his run just a little bit earlier to get into that space so this 11 has somewhere to pass to. Because you're going to find what's going to happen is that they run out of space. Max has to get a ball into a gap, into an on-running striker who is not yet offside. So he has to time it perfectly, which he does. Unfortunately, because he has to get the timing right, he doesn't get the weight of the pass correct. And right here, I think my 7's a little too wide. So in this play, this is kind of we're preventing buildup, but it's the transition between okay, we've won it in the midfield, now we need to go and try to attack again. Every single time, the only 2 people on our team that needs to be pressing are the 9 and the 10. So the 9 and the 10 are already dropped off too far and into the coverage zone where the 8, the 7, the 11s, the 2, and the 3s need to exist. Because once we win the ball back, we need somebody to pass to, correct? So what we'll see is our 7 win the ball, and run out of passing options pretty quick. But we still create a chance. But we could have a better chance if we're able to unbalance and disorganize this defense. He wins the ball. Passes it up to Maxim, but Maxim has two people with him because Heath closed the space down and drug a defender with him. Had Heath stayed high along that line, along the back line, Heath would have been there for a pass and it would have been a much easier chance to create. So just kind of summarize the whole thing. These are the number of attacks in the middle third for each of the games. As you can see, there was about 80 in the first game, almost 90 in the second game, and well over 100 in game 3. So improvement each game, which is always good. So now we're going to look at a 3-game average in terms of the various breakdowns and percentage-wise. You could really tell if you look at the top bars, the maintained possession because of a foul, that blue line is that first team. Really aggressive. They fouled us 2-1 over the other two teams. So they essentially are half our fouls in our midfield. The other two teams were not as aggressive. In terms of loss of possession, you can see that we were successful each game, getting more successful each game. Now, notice there's a lack of bar in the middle. That is a not successful retreat. That means, let's say we're building up through the midfield by the 2 or 3. They say, hey, I've got a bunch of guys in front of me. I can't make this go for any farther. So I'm going to then stop, try to change the point of attack. And we've practiced for a couple of weeks, changing the point of attack through the 4 and the 5 and giving them specific techniques to work on to try to do that. Now, would I do that against that first team? No, because they have overwhelming numbers in that zone that I would want to retreat into. If I get down in that second team that we played, absolutely. That is the game that you should be about half the time of your unsuccessful should be converting into a non-successful retreat, changing the point of attack so you can then attack on the other side. So the good, over the course of the 3 games, the shape of the midfield grew stronger and more defined, and they were able to use the shape to pass the ball forward. We had more attacks each game, and the attacks we had were more successful. And it's obvious to anyone that the players are learning and applying the skills that we're doing in training on the field. So growth opportunities here in the next couple weeks. We want to remember that possession is precious. So we need to ask ourselves, when do we retreat back if there's no way forward? Try not to force the ball so we lose possession, but change the point of attack, trying to get unbalance the defense. Which leads us to the next thing, unbalancing the opposition. How can we change the point of attack? So those two are fundamentally linked. Is saying, hey, I can't go forward anymore. I don't have a pass. It's not on, but I know I have help and support behind me. And we're going to maintain possession because if we have possession, that means the other team does not. And finally, we're going to utilize space and triangulate to create passing options. So the question we ask ourselves, how can we move off the ball to help our team? I think all the players in all the positions can help in that fact is the fact trying to create those triangular passing lanes using the shape of the team in an off the ball movement. You're always moving in this game. If you're standing still, something's wrong. And I want to thank you for spending a half hour with me going over the first 3 games of the 2022 spring SSUL season and attacking in the middle third.